Well, hello, this is Seth Dellinger, and I'm here with Mateusz Bogdanowicz, and this is the Meaningful Movement podcast. Mateusz is a dancer in Germany, originally from Poland. He's also a choreographer. He is currently at the Folkwang University of the Arts. This is an internationally recognized both a school of dance, but also it's an important performance center. And there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about, but Mateusz had a suggestion, which because he is a dancer, he wanted to begin with some movement. So let's do it.
Yeah, sure. No, I wanted to also say thank you and hello to everybody that will watch this podcast. And yeah, I'm very happy that I can be here with Seth. And yeah, I am a dancer, so I think maybe we can start from this.
Beautiful. And then of course we can talk about it.
And then we can talk about it.
That's right. But movement first.
Yeah. Then we have something to talk.
We'll just imagine the curtain is opening right now and the lights just came up.
Exactly. So I just start. Actually, it's always that at the beginning, I just take a bit of moment of time to just calm myself down. And then it somehow starts. Yeah. And it really happens in the moment. It's happened here and now, actually. Everything, it's not planned. I don't plan nothing. I'm just maybe available. Yeah. And kind of, yeah. Sometimes I'm really also surprised about my kind of inner impulses that comes, that I can kind of control, not, yeah. And I'm becoming even more quiet now and sure. And flexible and available for a moment. Yeah. So, my breath is there, of course, with me always. Yeah. And all the things. Yeah. I do a lot of arm movement, but actually I don't have so much space. I feel there and so there. I feel. I don't look at the screen at all. just shake it. Yeah, it comes, and I control it. Yeah. I'm like experiencing fully my own craziness. Yeah. And I hear like Seth, even though we are like in virtual system now, like kind of, yeah, I feel the weight of my arms and just I bring it in. It moves me there and I just see how my body organizes this movement. And I soon, yeah, I'm just kind of relaxed now. And I don't know from where the next impulse comes actually, and I will look for the end. I drop it down. Yeah. It's about decision. Immediately. I hope everybody will enjoy this podcast and maybe they will not say that I'm so crazy. Yeah, it's just like, I feel fully controlled and I have a fun with my own movement because, I'm trained like this to have control of everything and to just now calm down a bit, start to talk to Seth soon. I close my eyes and I just take a breath. I feel how my weight is distributed. And I'm playing it like front and a bit back. I put it in the center a bit. Yeah, and I let it go a bit. I feel my arms hanging on the spine calmly and I relax my jaw. I calm down. I soft my knees. I let my head to sit on the spine. I stand.
That's a beautiful way to start the conversation.
Hello.
Thank you, Mateusz.
No problem. Hello.
Hello. So, that was really wonderful, and I didn't know you were going to speak and try to give an idea of your process, but thank you for doing that as well.
I also didn't know it.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting about that was at first, and I love that you were improvising and explaining that, because long before I was involved in movement in the way that would lead me to have a podcast like this, I was involved in improvisation in the world of music and even teaching movement today. And you and I have talked about this. While of course there are many situations where we're trying to teach the correct posture, or in the world of dance, if it's a choreography, the choreographer wants you to do these steps, but then the value of improvisation, like anything, we can have a high quality improvisation, or we can have someone just sort of doing random things but in any case, it's a process where, as you were explaining, you open yourself, not knowing what's going to happen next. And there's something in that. But what I felt too is when you were speaking, it also helped me to see how your movement was also like a phrase, and then it comes to an end, and then there was another phrase. So you were, even without your voice, you were communicating in time, because there was an action. Sometimes it was a larger act, like an accent, in the sentence, but it was a moving sentence with your body. And then you became quiet again. And then the movement through space. And anyway, this is what I was seeing and getting from what you were saying.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is always like this surprising what is happening, no? It's this big to being available all the time of everything that is going on. And yeah, this capacity of control and this capacity also of witnessing what is going on with you. I mean, the movement sometimes, and especially in improvisation, when you just it starts, and you don't really know where it goes, but you just have this witness system that like observe what you do, and it's about like 1 second decision that you made, and this is very beautiful. Like I can realize that, oh, I maybe was nervous, oh, I have my breath here, so I relax it, and I see how my chest like yeah, melt down, and then I just like, it's fascinated, no? Because it's a lot of going on. Like sometimes when I meditate, and of course everybody that does, it's like you meditate and it's a lot of things going on. You just like are witnessing them, the thoughts are coming and going, and then you think about this or that, and you place your awareness here and there. And yeah, and I think sometimes in because all the time everything is in movement. And I think like kind of similar in improvisation, and I'm sometimes really like impressed of where it brings me, and it's fascinated. It's really fascinating, and I can like really make a lot of decision in the moment, And when I started to talk about it, I think it's even more challenging, because the things are happening sometimes so fast that you can't really grab everything. But it's like kind of to give, I don't know, like what is going on a bit, what can I witness, or what can I verbally maybe somehow name. But it's all about experiencing my own creativity, my own nature of how my body wants to move in the moment. What is this, what I would like to do in this moment, nah? And this all impulses that I realized that I have. I had today rehearsal, we moved a lot, and it's always everything influence you, and then like, oh, my body does this, and you just follow this. And I think it's
Now,
beautiful.
this was improvised, but just before we began the podcast, you suggested, you were saying,
Yeah,
well, dancers sometimes they just talk a lot, but
yeah,
but so even though you're telling us about your experience, it was your idea even that we should begin this way. So there's some relationship between what you're feeling and experiencing inside with desire to communicate. So how does that relate for you when you're performing? And you've performed on stage, I know, in Poland and Germany and maybe other places. Maybe we'll talk about during the pandemic, you were performing in a home for senior citizens in Germany. And so I know you have some stories about that. But when you stand in front of an audience, what is happening for you? Because of course you're feeling all these things you explained, but there's also the presence of others who are there to see.
yeah, sure. I mean, I believe that of course there is a lot of going on, depending also which kind of performance you do, because it's like similar maybe to the Feldenkrais class. Like one class can be about something, and you place your awareness in certain on certain movement, or in certain, like, yeah, you have some imagination of how you raise your arm and stuff like this. And in dance is similar, no? So you just decide, you make some decision, you think that you maybe move like a water, or you move like a stone, or you move like a fire, or you impulse like fireworks or stuff like this. So I believe it just has kinesthetic impact of like of the audience. It's like about the quality my movement is. Nah? If it's like sometimes, and I am dancing for the old people, like now in the pandemic, I was doing a project. I was going to the
During the
houses of
pandemic.
old people, yeah, and they are saying like, yeah, you today you are moving like an angel, you know, and I imagine you are on the beach and yeah, you are so relaxed here, and it was like a windy or like an angel and stuff. So I believe it's also like this is how we communicate with the audience. They have like kind of yeah feeling of what is going on, imagination, or they remind suddenly about something, and it's this kind of non-verbal communication, is this body language, is this like what I do, and they like are yeah kind of impressed sometimes about that.
Well, maybe we could talk a little bit about that experience because in our last conversation, which we weren't recording it, but you were you were emphasizing to me that you think a dancer has an important role to play in society, and I understand that what you mean is not just it's important that they're on stage and people can come to see, but in some of the materials on the website for the Folkwang University that I saw describing your projects, it explained that probably like I know other dancers who had this experience when everything was shut down, you weren't performing, and so you began to partly just for your income, I suppose, you were working in this senior living center, and then I don't know if the photographer who lived there was kind of the person that made a connection, but you made a connection with a woman who is a photographer who was living there, and then you actually created a program there to bring dance into that center. Can you talk about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, sure. Like, first of all, I have to say, like, you know, like, I'm educated dancer. Like, I was studying in the university 5 years, like 5.5 years on the university in Poland, and I'm like here in Germany. So, and before I also had a contact with a lot of like martial arts and yoga before as well, and I also danced before. So, I'm trained, and it means that I practice movements like in such a way. So I like kind of master or going deeper into the like physicality movement and stuff like this. And it did like after the study, like I started to realize that it improves my quality of life in general because I think about movement and about yeah about movement and in a specific certain way, different way, like because depending of what I do. And I started to realize that, oh, it improves my quality of life. You know, I can move my arms like this, or I can move my arms like this. I can walk this way, or I can walk that way. And then I started to like realize, oh, this feels cool. Now I feel like more light. I know, and now I feel more space in my joints and stuff. And I started to realize like, oh, and I have also capacity to change these qualities. So I started to realize that the quality of movement, um, like quality of movement makes me feel in certain way, you know. And then I realized that we have this capacity of changing. So I started to yeah to talk about it with people and going to the house of the old people and just like first of all dancing for them, but then talking to them about movement stuff like this, maybe trying with them some simple exercises. And yeah, and then simple exercise of rising the arms up sometimes was really like enlightenment for them because they started to do it in a different way, which maybe they haven't done before, or they were not experiencing lifting arms in this way because they were all live doing this or that.
Mhm.
And then they started to realize, oh, I haven't thought that it can be like this, and it feels different. I feel like more space. I feel like I can move my arms without so much effort, and like I can be yeah I can be cool to me, you know. So this is for me very inspiring because we have this possibility as a dancer, so we can share it also with other people.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yeah,
So do
so
you want to talk about the woman? Her name was Karen. Karen Gallis, is this
Yeah,
the
Karen
right?
Gallos is a woman. Yeah, this woman actually, she lives in Essen, um, and she was also a student of photography, but she haven't had camera like a lot of time in the hands. And I came to her to visit her because I knew that she also studied in the University of Mine, but like a lot of
But
time
she was
ago.
one of the residents in this
Exactly,
facility where you were
exactly,
visiting also.
exactly.
Is this like a large place with
It's a
uh,
large
how
place, a
many
lot.
people live there?
I don't know exactly how many, but they have a really enormous campus. So there is a
Okay,
lot of people there, and they
okay.
are like, nah. And now in the pandemic, they are really closed there because they couldn't go out and stuff like this. So, yeah, I met her, and yeah, we started to talk, and she said to me that she loves dancing, and yeah, she also tried dance, and she likes it because also this improves his way of life, simply because she can like feel if it's going okay with her, or she can simply help herself doing some exercises or stuff like this. So I went to her, and I just wanted to meet her more to talk about it. So we had the opportunity to, first of all, that I could dance for her because she was willing to watch it, and then it was, yeah, we could talk about it. And then also we tried also some exercises, and we started to maybe try some movement and doing it in a different that way. And she started to laugh, she started to discover like, oh, I can feel good, like I can move my arm lightly, or I feel a lot of space, I feel that now I walk better, and this is what inspires me as a person, because the people can do it as well,
Mhm,
try and improve their quality of life
mhm.
and gain some kind of tools that can be present in their lives, in the sense of, it's a wonderful thing.
You mentioned the Feldenkrais class, so that's actually how we know each other last year. When
Exactly.
when people started staying at home, I was teaching, and I still teach online Feldenkrais, and you came and joined the class. And something you said to me last time, which I also thought was very interesting, because given your training, it was obvious when the class started, you were usually moving very beautifully already, and we were doing things. You compared your performance to Feldenkrais, but actually the situation in the Feldenkrais class, I mean, the teacher is watching, and one of my roles is if I feel like someone is working too hard and straining, I might say something. But it's not a performance context. It really is about exploring the sensations, the internal experience of the movement. So in that sense, that was why I was interested in the relationship between your internal experience and the appearance that you give to others. And it's beautiful what you described about, as I understand it, you're making this point about your training. It's almost like, you have this opportunity that a lot of people don't have to engage so
Yeah.
specifically with movement for so much time, but you seem to have this feeling that it's almost your responsibility to give some of that back to people who maybe don't explore in the way that you do, because it's simply not available to them to spend that much time.
Yeah, I mean, there is also, of course, like not everybody is digging into the movement or like seeking on this or improving so much, but everybody moves. Like we all move all the time. We sit on the car, we walk, we just have to clean the dishes, and we do a lot of stuff. No, we work on the computer, and everybody does it. But the people sometimes maybe don't do so much. They don't think so much about how they do it. So for me, it has a big influence on me, like a body awareness techniques that I get to know really early in my life, because I started to realize and getting to know what and how I do, and what and how I do my movement. No? And this is this special opportunity and space that you, for example, have in Feldenkrais class, that you just simply lie on the back, and then you bend your feet and bend your knees and stand your feet, and then you pause. And then you started to, like, this pause gives you like an access of what is going on or how you do the movement. And we do the movement very slow, like very, very slow. It's almost, you can say that is boring even, but there is going on a lot, you know, and you can discover, oh, I lift my shoulder, but how? And then you realize, oh, I was tensing this. Now I feel I release it somehow, or I drop it, or now I do this and that. And then you started to lift, and then you started to do some pathway movement, and then you started to realize how you exactly do it, how you initiate the movement, which quality, which like, yeah, what is going on? And then you started to realize, and then it improves, something changed because you started to understand more about how you do the things and what you did before, how you were behaving before. And then you started to realize, oh, I can lift this, or I can move, or I can walk with really maybe not so much effort, or maybe more efficient, like without so many muscular strength, like, and by just increasing or putting awareness and thinking about movement in such a way, which I haven't done before. And this has many benefits and value because then we started to do the things more consciously. And if we are trained this way, we started to embody this. So it started to become like kind of normal, like not, yeah, normal. Like it started to become part of how we behave, because we behave anyway all the time, but it's everything what we have learned so far. No? And
So
then
you're
we
saying being aware and observant of the quality of your movement is something that can become just a normal part of what you're doing, even when you're washing the dishes or walking down the street. It doesn't have to
absolutely, I
just
have
be a
it.
special situation.
I have it. I have it totally, you know, like I
Yeah.
feel my sitting bones now. I'm just like kind of checking it, you know. I'm like, I check if here is everything. I mean, this is like, but it's my kind of habits, it's how I behave, how I see myself. But you know, sometimes the people are kind of, what is this about? That, you know, you lie on the back and then you slow down, and then you started to really get into contact with yourself, into what you really feels and how you behave and what you exactly do, which you don't think maybe about so much. You know, like I had one of my friends said to me, like, because he has a back pain, and he's like, yeah, I have back pain, like maybe I have to go to massage or stuff like this to take some treatments. And but I before I asked him, like, how you deal with it now, you have a back pain. And he said to me, like, you know, I try to forget about it, because like it, yeah, because what can I do? I forget about it, and I just like, I have to accomplish my task. I have to go forward. But then, you know, he relaxed after work, and he's like suffering from the back pain. And this is what the people does, you know, they just act mechanically. They don't think exactly how they behave. And it's, you know, and we do it all the time. We, as I said before, like we all the time move. So, you know, so sometimes through dance we have this access to what we do and how, and to experience how we feel, how we rise, how we this. And yeah, and we can do it in a lot of ways, and we can discover that this way or that way, it's a way that you feel like, wow, you can do it. Like, you know, like once I was teaching a gyrokinesis class, and but to the group, the older group, because it was in the hospital, in the department of brain disorders, and they were people having 60 years old, no? And my mother was telling me, like, but what are you teaching to them? Actually, you are so young, no? But one woman said to me, like, oh my God, I am having 60 years old, but I haven't moved so far through my life like this. You know, and I'm like, wow, you know, so you see, because you haven't thought maybe before like this, that you have this opportunity, this choice to do it. And this,
Right.
I think, is something that dancer has, this special quality of change, this special skill to change the movement quality, to think about movement in a creative way, in a different way, to have an imagination of how we are, to analyze, maybe to know exactly how you move and why. And then you just like can enjoy, you know. um, and I think it's really valuable to share it with other people. That's why I really love to do the social projects that and yeah,
Yeah.
and sharing people talking about it, you know, because it's important. I think they can live better, they can be more happy, they can move with easiness, with happiness, without so much effort, and they can enjoy.
Mhm.
And they are more vital. I see love in their faces and appreciation.
So you have a couple more projects that I only just learned about, and it would be great to hear about. Well, let's just do them one at a time. So one is you have been working with two musicians to
Yeah, right.
create your dancing, but it's designed for an audience of people who are blind.
Exactly. This
So
is what I try to.
tell us about that?
Yeah, it's like kind of yeah, because it's very simple, no? Because the blind people, they can't see dance, so they can't really see what they can't see the movement, like the dancing. They can maybe, and I was thinking like, you know, and in the movement is a lot of going on. They are like qualities, as I said before, you can move like a water, this and that. And I was thinking like, how can I translate it, how we can talk, maybe they have some imagination, how can I translate movement, my movement qualities into through the other media, that then to talk to them and all about movement or qualities, but through different things. So I invited musicians because I know a lot of beautiful musicians here from Germany, and they have this possibility and this sensitivity, you know, to see movement and then like kind of translate it into the sound, because it's different, you know, if you're like so it's you can, you know, like but you can be like yeah, and it's, you know, it has for me this, it is like kind of, yeah, it's a dialogue.
There's an
So group,
accordionist and a flute player, correct?
exactly, this is a accordionist and flute player, and they are great, you know, they are doing great job, and we are also discovering a lot about our own movements, because it's also about, no, I'm not like, I am not a genius and I know everything, you know? It's always a lot of going on, and also how the people are seeing me, how I think I move, and how the people are perceiving me. And
So
then
have
we
you
have,
presented this? Have you been with people who are blind and
yes, sure. I was
done
working with
performances?
one woman. Actually, she was also a student from here. She was a singer. She's blind. So
Huh.
we started to talk to her, no? And she was, yeah, we did a simple arm movements also with her. They are great. They have a great sensibility. But you know, this is also fascinating. It's another aspect of yeah of discovering something about movement, because you started to communicate through the other media, but they have a lot to do with each other. They can complement themselves. You can, yeah, and this is fascinating. Just
Yeah,
you
I
can also
appreciate
see
the.
this on my website. I mean, there are like short films about the musicians that are playing flute, and
We'll
yeah.
have to include that information so people can take a
So
look at it.
yeah, so I just simply believe that maybe, yeah, maybe we can talk about dance and movement with the blind people, but just giving an example like through the music a bit.
Mhm.
So, and I
I mean,
believe,
when you danced at the beginning and you were explaining, but clearly, there was sound, there was movement, there was rhythm. Um, there was this relationship in space. There was your internal sensation. There was my internal sensation as I was watching.
a lot of going on.
When I read about that project, I wish I could remember the name, but there is just something I saw online once, but it was an orchestra. And the composer, his idea was to create music for deaf people. And what they actually did, and they had musical scores, and the music was to be performed on the bodies of the audience. So it was like I never got to see or hear what it was, but apparently someone had organized a performance, and I'm sure everything was explained ahead of time, so not to surprise anyone, but that they organized a musical experience through touch, that they presented to an audience. And being that it was an orchestra, I can only assume that there were multiple musicians, right? And so it's fascinating to think of the different ways we communicate through the senses and how they can correspond, how they can, as you say,
Absolutely.
translate.
And this is like something which really like it fascinated me because there is a lot of approaches, you know, to the movement, to in art and stuff like this. But this is the power of art as well, that it can inspire people, that it can teach something to the people or change even the people of their thinking, you know, that it can open up like a different doors and you can experience something new and your spirit can be a little bit brought up because you discover something beautiful that you maybe haven't discovered before. You meet other people, you have a conversation about what is going on. So it deeply inspires people, it touches people, and it moves them. So we dance and move, and it also moves the other. And I am really fascinating, you know, you tell about this, or I'm telling about this, and you know, it's a lot of going on. Well, of course, now we also have to take a choice, but it's beautiful because it just kind of inspires. You know, you do a lot of podcasts and you meet different personalities, and everybody thinks a little bit this way or that way, or focus this and that. And I think it's so beautiful because of this variety as well. And, you know, and this is like, it's incredible how the human being is also creative and how many things is going on. And yeah, it's also, it shows something, it's incredible. And also I think this skills that not dancers has, like this creativity, this innovative thinking about how we can do stuff. It's really inspiring, and I think it's just a cool to share it also with other people.
Mhm. Yeah, no, well, this is the idea with the podcast, and you're right. It has been a pleasure for me to talk. We're on the fifth podcast now, but I think we're going to keep going with it. And maybe that's a good way to come to a question that I'm asking everyone, really, because the variety comes automatically when a different person answers the question every time. But one of my interests in inviting you and the other people I've been talking with is to understand what is this thing that I'm calling a movement practice. And, you know, this is more in my mind, it's not just I go to a yoga class or I go to a Feldenkrais class or gyrokinesis like what you teach. But it's something to do with how does movement relate to my life. But practice is something that we do repetitively. Like maybe we do it on a day where I don't want to practice, but I know in my life there's a value of doing this every day or twice a week, whatever I decide. But it's something that I'm working on, and hopefully there is pleasure in it. As obviously for you, that's not a problem, but you know, it has a value for you, and you are already very accomplished in your movement, and you've talked about the benefit of, you know, the clarity that you have in your body and the ability to change that quality. But you're not always performing. You're not always, you know, sort of in your professional role. You have your relationships. You have all of the issues that anyone does. So I'm interested in your practice for you. If you could just talk about, you know, what does it mean to you to practice your movement? Why do you go after everything that you've already accomplished and learned? Why do you go to a Feldenkrais class, or why do you keep looking for new forms to study? What are the things that you're doing every day just for yourself, for your practice?
Yeah, first of all, because I'm always fascinated that there's a lot of to discover or to experience, and it's also it's not about to it's to try again something, to feel something again, to be to have a humility and to have the patience to discover something new, to just like you know, to don't be right all the time. Like I know it, so I know this movement, so I don't go anymore to the Feldenkrais class. but it's always this possibility to calm down, to just take a pause, to connect to your breath, because we do a lot of things all the time, and our attention and our nervous system is really overwhelmed sometimes because we have to do a lot of things. So first of all, it's like kind of that I get in contact with myself. It's a routine. It's something, it's a self-care, because we work, we do something, and then we have to also care about ourselves. So for me, practice means also that I come back and I care about myself. I have a contact with myself, with what I do. I try to see it again. I try to connect again about, to my breath, to the floor, to the space, and to see it again, to don't do think mechanically, to just ask my question. If I do it mechanically, what is going on? What do I maybe feel? Because all the time is something in movement. So for me, it's about this, and maybe also about to discover new ways of moving. It's, it's, I am trained in certain way. I had like a ballet training, and I had a modern training and contemporary training, and it all shapes a bit on the way of how I move. But as I said, there is a lot of movement practices going on. So for me, it's also like rediscover something, rediscover that I can maybe move my pelvis in that way. There is a lot of ballet dancers, like classical dancers, that they are just having just ballet training all their life. So they learn how to move like in this way, and they just like, if they go to the contemporary class, they are just absolutely, they don't know what is going on, because they never moved like the pelvis in this way. Because in ballet you have like a pelvis which is kind of vertical, and yeah, and in one place, no? And you just move, you just isolate your hips, and you move your leg outside or inside, on front and back, and rond de jambe, and all these things. But they just don't move this, they don't know what is going, what is this movement of the pelvis. So the movement practice is, it gives me like, it feeds me, it gives me something rich in terms of how I can do the things and what can I learn out of this. And it gives me the body knowledge that I can then use, like in terms of when I'm doing even a social projects. Then I have this body knowledge, I have this variety, this kind of lot of colors that I can use. And I can also recognize the movement quality, or look at the movement not only through one perspective, but through a lot of possibilities. So meaningful movement practice means for me to, yeah, to just to discover something new, to do something consciously, not mechanically, to do something with sensibility to witnessing what is going on for me, and to draw to take some reflection out of this. To don't be like, I go to the gymnastic, I just jump 10 times, and then I'm going home and it's fine, I sweat a bit, but today this and that, and I don't know, like I struggle maybe with some pain there, and how I now organize myself, what is going on maybe, and then I improve. Then I feel like, oh, because you have to have a lot of patience from the other hand as well. Yeah.
You
This is
mentioned reflecting on the movement, and something that I remember you told me about the class that you enjoyed was actually when we finished and we just talked a little bit, and you were telling me how interesting it was to you to hear some of the other people in the class, most of whom were not trained in the movement like you are, sometimes came to class with pain and difficulty, but for you, you felt like you had a that was part of your experience, was listening to the
absolutely.
other people.
Yeah, I mean, the speaking about movement is very tricky sometimes, nah? And it's very beautiful also to hear the people how they understand, because you understand in a certain way, but the people also in the certain way. And then by sharing this, you are like, oh my God, they were like, everybody was moving the arm, like lifting, rising the arm up. But then at the conversation at the end is like, I felt like this and that. I felt, like I was this and that. I felt like, and you see like, oh my God, there is like a lot of going on in simple arm movement. and it's fascinating. It's very complex from the other hand, and how the people also think, because this is not disconnected of how you think in general and how you move. It's very connected. Like it's a very simple and like traditional traditional theory, but the mind isn't separated from the body. It's part. We are moving. It's not our body moves, we move. We are one. So how we think, we move. How we sit, we talk, we communicate. We just like, this is all part of ourselves. So it's very beautiful to hear the people as well after class, how they talk and what about, and how they experience this, because you learn also out of this. You learn, you just simply learn, and it's a beautiful thing.
So you mentioned, the ideas that sometimes come with different trainings. The person who has a lot of training in ballet but hasn't tried other forms. You've tried many different forms. So this is another thing that I like to ask. And this is kind of the world we live in today. There's so many different choices for someone who enjoys movement that you're not the first person I've talked to who's experienced many things. But of course, to study many forms of movement is to experience many different ways of thinking about movement, as you were just saying. Many different styles of teachers that you would have worked with. And, I can also imagine from what you're saying that maybe just your thinking in general, or the way you see the world, has maybe been impacted by your training. I guess you began at a fairly young age to be involved with movement. I'm curious about, just your experiences in, maybe you're trained today, as you've made clear, but there was a time where you maybe enjoyed movement, but you weren't so trained. You were just at the beginning. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about the process. Like, were there moments where you really didn't understand things in your body? And I know I'm putting a lot in the question, but there's one thing I definitely want to also include, because it's another thing I didn't know about you until recently, was that one of the forms you have danced is hip hop, and I saw you breakdancing in some videos recently. So I'm curious about the background and the growth into where you are today, and I'm hoping you'll tell part of that story too, about the hip hop dancing.
Yeah, it's also like discovery. I mean, I started, of course, from breaking, and at the beginning, I was just fascinated about movements. I was seeing people dancing and doing these tricks and all of this. And
so that was like, the first dance form that you
like first, no? I was like, I like to watch it, it gives me something, like it inspires me. And I was like, wow, I would like to maybe try. And it started like this. We started with the friends to meet and to try it out. And of course it was a more physical thing, like a more just that I was learning tricks. I was not thinking maybe a lot about
but you say you started with friends and try it out. So was it just pure, you didn't really even have a teacher in the beginning? It was just a decision to begin imitating things that you saw and
absolutely
Okay.
It was like this at the beginning. I haven't gone to some school to attend some class and stuff like this. It was just with friends. We were watching the videos, and then we were in the room and then dancing alone. And we were like, oh, because we were active anyway. No, we were playing football. I was also going to martial arts. So I was enjoying, this kind of tricks and roll through my back and this and that.
So you had some movement training in the martial arts, but the first time you ever thought about dance was the hip hop.
Was the hip hop, yeah, sure, right. Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's the hip hop, yeah. It was a first try, first jump into the dance water. Yeah, and then it's a lot of going on there. No, there is I don't know, there is a lot of going on. But then if you go and discover more and more, you started to have a more interest about this, what you do and how you do, and how you can improve. And then you started to realize also, like at the beginning, I was maybe don't thinking so much. I'm young, but I was much younger. So I was like really going for this. And I also had struggle like with pain sometimes. And then I was realizing like, no, I don't want to kill myself, how I can do it in this and that way. And I started to research about it, and I started to like, oh, there is yoga I can do, I can stretch, I can care about myself in this and that way. And it was all the time improving the way of how I was dancing.
Mhm.
And so yeah, and so it started like this, and I started to discover like, wow, it really improves my quality of how I move, how I live, how I feel. I don't know, I felt like I felt good, you know, I felt inspired. So I didn't understand maybe it perfectly, no, what is going on there, but I was like, my intuition was doing like, yeah, good, it helps me, I feel better, I can understand better, I can move better, I can, I don't know, learn something more, or yeah. And then I was trying to dig in more into this, and then I decided to go to the university. And then I had a contact also with my yoga teacher, and I was like, oh God, I discovered a lot, you know. I don't know, you discover, you improve, just you improve in
Mhm.
a in a se- in a sense, of course, of how you move, but it's like really holistic. It
Mhm.
changed the way of everything you do.
But so have you also, I think, studied ballet and some
Of course,
kind of
ballet was a
contemporary
part.
dance training also?
Yeah, we at the beginning when I was in the university in Poland, we didn't have so many like everyday ballet training. No, it was more like we had more improvisation, contemporary training, but of course we had ballet, but not every day because we are not supposed to be a ballet dancer. But of course, they are principles in ballet and like a space organization and extension and all of this, and they are beautiful principles to share. So of course we had it. Yeah, so I had it. What was your question? Sorry.
Well, yeah, I was just asking about the different forms because, of course, um, it's probably hard to find two forms that are more different than hip hop and ballet, right? Um, so I'm just enjoying the mix. Um, but you mentioned a couple of times, the different social projects that you've been involved in, and maybe we could go back to that because I know there's another thing that you've been doing with other artists and dancers during the pandemic, which is the
Right,
name for it is We Dance the Crisis.
right.
So what is that about?
This project was about to, first of all, to meet people because we were in the pandemic. The people couldn't meet in the groups. We had all the opportunity to meet one by one. So I wanted to meet people and to have a creative walk with them. Like creative walk mean that first of all, like we meet, no? We talk, and they are also dancers mostly. So yeah,
Creative walk, like walking.
yeah, walking. Yeah, of course,
So
walking.
you met outside, I imagine.
Yeah, we met
Because you,
outside and we say like hello and this and that and how you deal with the situation. And then we started to talk because I wanted to meet different people and I wanted to share with them and have a conversation about how they think about movement, dance, what inspires them, to just like, yeah, to share, to have a conversation, to communicate, to meet the people, to meet different way of thinking. And if it's possibility or opportunity to maybe do something with them, to dance, if it's really like opportunity, willingness to do it, it's fine. But the most important thing was to, yeah, to support each other in a way that we meet, we talk, and yeah, we inspire each other because we share like we are doing now. No, you tell something, I tell something, and then we had couple conversation before as well, and then we feel inspired. Now you say me something, or I am going to your workshop or class, you
so,
know,
but
and
it
I
was it was in particular other artists that were meeting.
absolutely, I was
Okay.
particularly, yeah, and I was also like asking for permission, of course, if I can record this all conversation because I was collecting the thoughts about of how they think about dance, or what how they think while dancing, to just seeing the different aspects of what the dance can be. And they are beautiful things, you know, and also the beautiful necessities that the people has, you know. One person is saying that they need more space, that they they need to go outside because they can't, because they feel claustrophobic in inside spaces, and they use this opportunity to move and it frees them. No? Other people were like most sad because they were here abroad and they were missing the country. So this aspect of like dance as a as to miss something, and there's a lot of aspect.
Was
And
this like once a week, or how often did you meet?
it was depending, it was very like very normal situation that I was mostly asking people if they are willing to meet with me, and they were saying yes. So we were just setting the date, and we were yeah, meeting outside because it was also a lockdown situation, so we couldn't really do so much thing. And
Right.
also I was using the opportunity to, of course, if it was willing to move or something, I was also photographing this situation or having a recording of the situation to simply, yeah, to simply document it in such a way. And
Right. So this is another thing. If people will include your Instagram page, and if you go to Mateus's Instagram, um, you'll see you're quite accomplished as a photographer. I don't know what your training in that is, but there's and you have people who often are moving in beautiful ways, and they're nice to see. But you've composed the picture. Um, and sometimes it's maybe just an artistic eye that you have, but there's also clearly real composition. You have a photo, for example. I remember you're sitting in a stool, and I think you're just kind of looking like this. But then in front of your feet on the ground, there's a mirror, and I think it's someone else's feet that you're looking at in the picture, and it's just this wonderful composition that you put together.
yeah, yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, I'm also a creative person, so sometimes I'm just doing so creative things just to try it out and do something. But photography, for me, it's important element. I like to photograph. I liked it before already when I was a kid, and in a movement especially because for me it's a way of documenting a movement which is very ephemeral, and it's very changeable all the time. Because like I'm young now. No, I don't know what will happen in 30 years, but I don't move maybe this way when I was moving like 10 years ago. Something has changed. And when I'm looking at this picture, it's like totally different, like atmosphere, my body, yeah, how it looks like, yeah, I don't know, something is there. Like the picture has this, they have information, and I am really fascinating about it to photograph this, what is ephemeral, and to catch these moments of suspension, of to catch this emotion of a dance, to catch the guest, because then dance is full of gestures, which are like fluently all the time changing, but they have a really powerful um yeah, they are really powerful in terms of how what they transmit. And photography, you can catch it, you can catch this moment, you can really catch it. And you can focus also on the different things. You have a choice to focus on the face, or to focus on the shape, or to focus on the atmosphere or stuff. So it's for me beautiful thing that is like part, or that is always next to me. It's like my good friend to document this, which is very ephemeral. Because if we paint, or we have a painting, no, and then it's in our wall, but if we dance, it disappear. I mean, if we don't record it, it disappear, because it's all about experience here and now, what is happening. I did this improvisation at the beginning. I don't know how it will be now, different.
Mhm.
And we have recording of this. You know what I mean? Like it's done. So,
Mhm.
today I can hopefully not like injure myself, like fell down or something, and I will maybe not never move the same way. I don't know, like, and photography, it's this way that helps me to, yeah, to photograph this and to understand better as well.
Mhm. I imagine there has to be a relationship between the eye you're using to capture something as a photographer, and then what you're doing as a choreographer.
Yeah, there is of course I some a lot of my picture they are mostly like very clear, like they don't have uh, maybe something in the foreground in the back they are clean, they have like clean, and they are just human body, because I'm really fascinating about human body, like personality moving, because it's a whole thing moving. It's a the whole person, everything that he experienced so far, everything like who you are is moving. So mostly in my photographic, I'm just like kind of focusing on that. I'm just focusing on the pure movement situation without any maybe. So of course I have a lot of different picture, but this is mostly my interest in terms of how I relate photography to my choreography. Is this like essential thing that I'm really interested in is in it's a human body, no? It's like, you know, they are performers that using lights and an object and scenography and this and that. I'm really interested of to reduce everything and to ask myself what is the most important for me, and this is the movement which is most important for me. The person moves, the person dancing is the most important.
But so what's the process um, when you're creating a choreography where you're imagining a series of movements which will be ephemeral, that will disappear after
Yeah.
performed, and yet you are creating something for people to see. You're creating something with, I think your current project is maybe for 3 or 4 different dancers. Is that right?
Four.
And you're one of the dancers also.
No, no, I
No,
don't.
so you're not. So what? How do you do that? How do you create a choreography? And what? Um, I'm just going to make a guess, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But these things that you've been emphasizing all along about the role of the dancer in the larger society, um, is your choreography connected to this? Because of course you're going to give this choreography, you're going to give this performance to an audience.
Sure. Well, I don't know if it's gonna be given to the audience because now it's not allowed. Maybe it will be just recording of this.
Yeah. Okay.
But this is a different situation, and it's very important because it's also about like audience and somebody who performed, somebody who watched. But anyway, in this project, I created a lot of movement phrases, something that I can repeat. I notated, of course, in my way, so that I can also remember it and what is idea behind this. And they are created in a different um, circumstances. And I just share this movement phrases with a dancers. But this is just like an invitation to talk about what is going on in terms of this movement phrase. So what kind of quality do I use? What how I use the space, and there is a lot of going on how I organize everything. So this is a situation when we talk about it, and yeah, and we discover what is going on there, what is exactly this movement, what quality it is, if it's suspended or if it's cutted and with accent. And you know, like sometimes when I like just propose something at the beginning, I see like everybody is doing something else or initiating movement from different body parts or from different sources, and then we try to talk, like, you know, and then try to talk what is going on. So it's a, yeah, it's a kind of like a
So the
dialogue.
dancers are part of the process of creation with you. There's a
Absolutely, yeah.
conversation that you're
Yeah,
having.
I was trying to discover like the movement from that are initiated from the spine, and then they have like resonance on my hands. So I was trying to, yeah, like I created some movement, and then we tried to, yeah, to do it, to try to move in this way and see what it can brings and stuff. So it's very physical in a terms of, it's really about movement, about how and what I do, rather than a meaning of like I would do my performance about love between two people, you know.
Mhm. Not a story with a narrative.
Absolutely not. It's really
You
like,
actually told me last time, I think this was the photographer we were talking about before, in the senior home, but you told me how you performed, and she asked you what does your dance mean?
oh yeah,
You had an interesting
yeah.
response to
Yeah,
that.
yeah. She said to me like, because I was dancing for the lady, and she said like, but actually, what you dance means, this does it has any meaning? And I'm like, wow, this is nice question. I was surprised. Sometimes the people ask you, and you are surprised. You don't know exactly what to say, maybe at the beginning. And I was saying to her, like, I don't maybe necessarily can say you now what it's about, but I can say you how I think. And they maybe be, and in the way of how I think, maybe there is something that has a value, you know.
In the
And
sense
then
that it's meaningful, like
in a sense that is meaningful, nah? And then we started to talk about it, but yeah, but it's not, it's about how I do. And then how I raise my arm, how, and I said to her, sometimes I'm just experiencing something through the movement, my own creativity, my own inner impulses, my own nature. I am experiencing this, and it doesn't matter how it looks like or how I look like. It's a matter of how I think, how I experience. I give, yeah, and
but,
I do it also for her,
right.
it's towards somebody, and it has this kind of special occasion, to
But
celebrate.
so what's the meaning of your choreography then, which is something that you're preparing and rehearsing? And of course, maybe in the situation you won't be on a stage, maybe it'll be a video, but it's a prepared presentation for an
Yeah.
audience. And will you still uh, talk
I
about the
hope
meaning in the same way?
I hope they will be inspired by the quality of movement that can gives them something, that you can say like, oh, she moves the arm like this, and it was so beautiful. Yeah, it was like, it gives me sensation, like, it gives me this empathy sensation, that gives me that some. I wish that the audience looks like this, and they see this beautiful moment of suspension, of lightness, of yeah of tension and relaxation, of changing quality and dynamics, of going up and down, and seeing how the body can in beautiful and harmonic way organize itself, and it's person doing, and about this intention that he has an enjoyment, and it can brings like feeling of, oh wow, sometimes if you listen to the beautiful music and you are like, oh, so good, like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. And I hope that this movement quality that we are working on, it will also has this resonance, this special atmosphere that maybe is not now explainable, through the words that I can say, "Oh, I want that the audience feels this." No, I don't want. I just want them, one the lady said to me, like, when I was watching you moving, it reminded me that I was on the beach. I was lying on the floor, and I was just lying on the floor on the beach, but I had a sensation that the earth is like going around, but she was looking at me. It reminded her about this,
But she's looking
so
at you through the lens
exactly.
of her
She's
life.
looking at me dancing, but thinking about this, like
Right.
kind of having a memory of what was going on. And she's like, oh, it reminded me about this,
Mm-hmm.
it reminded me about, and this is sometimes all what, sometimes no, but that all what dance is about to touch somebody, it's like a music touch you, or you see the picture and you like it, you are like, oh wow, beautiful. I
Mm-hmm.
have, oh wow, such a, which kind of, what the kind of technique it's here, like it's on the stone, or it's like this,
Mm-hmm.
or it's like something else, or it's yeah,
But when
it's
I
it goes through the senses. The senses play a very important role in dance, because dance is not really, we cannot compare like dancing to the intellectual, like into the language in which we communicate. Is something else, is something else, is other language, is language which we can say, which we can experience through our senses.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, through the kinesthetic sense.
Yeah, when you were talking, I was reminded of when I first discovered the Feldenkrais method around 10 years ago, and I was very new to it, but something happened the first time I did an awareness through movement lesson. And, I can explain it now in terms of, well, I was doing this with my attention, and then, I was able to have a different image of my body and my muscles did this, but I didn't understand any of that. In the beginning, I was just having this dramatic change in my experience of myself and my relationship to the world. And so one of the things I did in the beginning was, of course, the internet. So I just was looking on the internet, and there was a Feldenkrais trainer who he has a website, and then there's a button to press, and then there's like 100 articles about that. I was like, oh, great. So now I can go here. I was reading one and after the other. And there was an article from another trainer, a man named Carl Ginsberg, who I never met. He's passed away now. But he was writing about watching a dancer. And he was talking about, when the dancer leaps and I feel this. And he probably referred to what we now know about, and the neuroscientists call the mirror neurons. But even a few moments ago when you were talking and you were, that's a rhythm that my eye picks up, but I feel it. Like if you make a sharp movement, I feel a little sensation internally. And later I had this idea. So now I had more experience with Feldenkrais, and I kind of understood, okay, when we quiet down and we go through this series of movements that was kind of planned to create a certain experience, and then my nervous system, it changes. I said, actually, I've had this experience many times before, because when I was growing up, if I didn't feel whole, if something was wrong, what did I do? I went into my room and I put on music. And it occurred to me that a composer, and I'm sure we can easily say a choreographer, even a painter, they create a completely unique experience for your nervous system. Your body will never feel the way it feels when you listen to Mozart, when you're doing any other thing. And it'll never feel that way when you listen to hip hop or punk, rock or anything. But there's music does something to the body, which you can't just, call up. Although, another experience I've had that sometimes for years I actually would get frustrated when I would hear music and then I would go somewhere else, but the music keep playing. And I'd realize that my body was kind of stuck in the rhythm because I still had the music in my head. But of course we can create an experience. So this woman who's suddenly on the beach while she's watching you, it's like you can create an experience that's very specific, but you don't know what it is. You just know that this is a very specific environment that the person is walking into, which you created.
Totally, totally. It has this power of changing something, changing your perception, like changing your perception. Like a music has this also incredible power of changing of how we experience the time. Because if you listen to the rock and they're just like and there's everything is going on in your head, and maybe you enjoy this feeling, nah? Maybe some people not. But if you do like a meditation or minimalistic music, it's like boom, and you are like entering into the space of, and like you are like, oh, something different is going on. It's similar in the movement, and the way of, yeah, it's changed your yeah perception, like how you perceive, and it gives you a lot of, yeah, a lot of ideas, and it gives you you think or you feel something. It's incredible. Yeah. But when I started also to practice, especially awareness through movement, I was also fascinating about, because before you were asking me also about this this hip hop stuff and stuff like this, you know, and I was realizing that because of this, that I was, because hip hop is very dynamic. It's a lot, like, especially if you do these tricks, it really requires a lot of strength and muscular and everything, because you have to just push and jump and quick and stuff like that. So I discover actually through awareness the movement, um, that I was tensing a lot, no? That I was like kind of, yeah, I put a lot of effort into this what I was doing. and and I discover also a beautiful thing that gives, that opens up like a lot of doors and new quality and sensation also of my, in terms of how I experience my movement, this kind of like that my effort was reduced. And yeah, and then I could find different types of movements, because I was used to, before I was used to just really strong movements. And yeah, and it's also, it's an interesting aspect. I was like thinking now about it, that this kind of effort, it's yeah, it reduced my effort, and then I can, you know, I can put a volume down, and then I have a much bigger range, not like all the time in this in this maximum or almost maximum or stuff. And then you can discover something, and also it brings the other feeling.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
was a key idea of Feldenkrais, that reducing effort can increase sensitivity. And it would,
absolutely. And the sense, yeah, and it's this, and it's like your sensitivity of how it's going on, it's really increased. And then
and
you
for the
can,
artist, it would seem to me that if you have increased sensitivity, it also expands the range of your potential for expression.
absolutely, and your movement is it's more efficient. It's more like you do, and you yeah, you know, because sometimes when I am dancing so much, I am moving, no, by the way, all the time, a lot. So it gives me this, that I can really be cool and enjoy my movement without killing myself. Yeah,
Please
you know,
don't,
because
please
I
don't
do
kill
a
yourself.
lot. And you know, and then I feel like, wow, I can enjoy, still dance and be good.
I was
Yeah,
looking down to see something I wrote down, which is not something you said, but it's something from Pina Bausch, which you
yeah,
had included in talking about your projects. And she said, and I assume the first word is it. I'm assuming she's talking about dance, but she says, it's not about art, not even about mere skill. It's about life and finding a language for life.
right. Yeah, it's a very it's a very big quote actually. But you know, it's yeah, it's all about life, Seth. It's about, because we are all human beings, and we have a dreams, we have a fears, we have a troubles, we have a, yeah, we have a questions, we have a works, we have a lives, and we go on. And then we meet other people, we communicate in a certain way, and then we decide, we are listening to the others, what the other are saying, and maybe we can, yeah, find a way to communicate and create an art, you know. Like, I'm going to the lady to talk, to meet her, and I don't want to say like, I would like to dance for you, no. I just meet her at the beginning, I see what she will tell me, you know. And she said to me, it's a very like very literal example, and she said to me, I was loving to watch dance. I really love it. I really, and I wish, because I don't have now opportunity to do it. And you listen to this, but you are dancer, and you are like, okay, so I bring you this. It's about life. It's about communication. It's about lifting up each other, you know. It's about, and then we create this art, and then it's like, and then the people are talking about it. But you know, I just went there and I said like, oh wow, so let's try, you know. And you know, this is not about, yeah, because it's not about art itself, it's about how you communicate, it's about life. You meet somebody, you have some necessities, you solve the problems in a certain way, you listen to yourself, yeah, it's all about this. It's not about, to jump higher, better than the other one and all this. It's about the art, the culture is the way of how we express ourselves and how we communicate and understand each other. And it can bind us as a one world. It can it can connect us. Dance can connect people. All of course can separate as well, but dance can connect, can inspire, can be opportunity to talk, to comment something, to critique something. Yeah, and this is beautiful.
I'm curious about what you just said in passing there. What do you refer to in cases where dance separates people? Have you seen that or experienced that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, it's always like it depends of the people, no? They are people that I don't know, like a very classical, really classical example that I don't know, that they are people that are like kind of um, they maybe are practicing a certain form of moving and they don't want to maybe other forms. They just think that they are maybe worst one, or they don't like it just. Yeah, and then it separate maybe a bit, between the people, like maybe and now the world is much more open, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to give like a very um, literal and imaginary example, but something that is totally different. And the people sometimes like, I do this, I don't do this. But actually, we can find a way to, it's all because it's similar, the function of all of this. Similar. And
Sounds like the separation is more in the thinking that some people bring to the dance, maybe not the dance itself. But of course, this is true in other forms of art and in the world of movement. Um, teaching movement. There are in my own field, Feldenkrais. There are Feldenkrais practitioners who they don't want to hear about what someone learned in yoga class, or and there's this idea of, well, this is the best way to learn movement, or that's the best way. And but yeah, that's kind of my experience, is that of course all of these things can be connected, but we have to have that approach, we have to have that attitude of, even if your form of dance or your form of improving movement or even working with the nervous system, maybe it's different than mine, but and maybe I don't want to adopt your way, but there's still, if I pay attention to your way, there's a piece of what you're doing that probably is very relevant for me.
the piece, what do you mean?
Piece, there's some elements in like, so you, I'm just saying, of course we find things that, no, that's not for me, but if we're willing to take the time, there's something in it that
That
I
you
can.
can learn. Yeah, right, we have yeah, I think we just have to be open and try to be open and listen to the others and see. It's a very important, and maybe it also, dance education may teach this, shows you this, that there are a lot of different possibilities, and then you become a person that is open-minded and um, more peaceful, because you started to understand that the individuality exists really, and the people has different necessities and different thoughts, and they are creative, they can do this and that, and yeah, and you started to appreciate it instead of fighting against this. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So
then
is
you find
it,
finding a common language, common communication, sharing, and it can really make you richer.
when you're engaged in the social projects, is this part of your mission also, to maybe help people to become more open?
Absolutely. I mean, the part of my mission is really connected also to the group of friends of us from the university. We created a group which is called the Imagination Space Center, and we wanted, first of all, as a dancer, because we are a lot of time like close in a certain group, you know, in the school, in the training. We don't go out so much. So first of all, we wanted to connect to the local community, to meet our neighbor, to meet people, and to meet them first of all, and then to share, you know, together something, and also to improve their quality of life by sharing the tools that we gain through the dance. And so this was our aim, that we wanted to share from people the principles that they can maybe use, that they can be helpful for them. So we wanted to that this we wanted to yeah to society to grow through this, and to share our movement culture with them, to meet them, to integrate the people also together. This was our aim.
But this is a current project, right? This is still
It's a
happening.
current project, but it's also a current aim. It's a current aim.
Mhm.
We wanted also to develop tools, the tools that can be shared with the people. Developing tools that can be helpful. It's all about this.
And this is something that people can find online.
Absolutely, they can find it online. There is a web page, Imagination Space Center,
Yeah.
which is on Facebook.
So
There
we'll
is
put that in
also
below this video
exactly
also. Okay.
there is some information about my page as well, and there is also in internet some information. You put Imagination Space Center, like the newspaper or something, we're also reporting about it. So
I mean, are there things that someone from their home who's not in Essen, Germany, can do online through that?
yeah, normally we are trying to connect, especially dedicate our projects to local communities, so the things where we live here in. But we had one project online during the pandemic, and we were having like different things going on there, so the people of course could join. We are focusing now more on the local community, because we want to care about the people that are living next to us. But of course, you know, like we think globally but we act locally.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean? So it's like, of course we are open to meet other people, of course, but our current project especially are dedicated to the people that are next to us.
Mhm.
But look, you know, you are in Washington, D.C., and I'm in Germany, and we are like sharing things, you know. So this is what I meant, you know. We think globally, but
Right.
we act locally.
Right. Well, you know, the pandemic has been,
Yeah.
put it in words, everybody knows what it's been. And obviously, you know, for people who have lost loved ones or who've been sick, you know, it's been just nothing but terrible. Um, but for much of the world, it's been this experience of being limited in the ability to move, right, and in the ability to connect with other people. And so I can only imagine some people watching this will think, I wish someone in my neighborhood had done the same thing, because I imagine that the people that you connected with must have been incredibly grateful for this opportunity. It must have really, it must have been a very special experience for people to come
I
and connect
hope
with you.
so, but I have to say that I think so, because you know, if I see the people smiling and yeah, and appreciating, and yeah, I just listen what they are telling, and I think they are appreciating now. And yeah, there is a lot of things going on. Anyway, I was practicing in the park once, and one lady came to me and like, oh wow, you are practicing, what are you doing exactly? And then we started to talk, and the conversation was about walking actually, and but it was a beautiful way to connect. She was like living nearby, you know. And then you are going on the street and you see this lady, and then you are connected somehow, and then yeah, it's a beautiful way, just now. But the people, I think, are appreciated it, and yeah, and she said to me like, yeah, if I see you moving, I imagine like, I feel like kind of artistic atmosphere here. I feel that the city lives and is alive, and something is going on, and it's inspiring. And I was like, wow, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, even when we go out, this thing of half the face being covered and just people, you know, understandably, a lot of people are scared, but there's this experience that it's harder to connect to other people. And so to provide a context for people to do that is so important. Is life in Essen right now beginning to normalize somewhat, or is it still very restricted?
Yeah, depending of how many infection we have in the area, but now it's getting very better. So now it's better,
Okay.
and they have we have a more freedom in terms of that the thing are starting to open again and open, but still with a taking care and with restriction, of course.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
Going better, I have to say.
yeah. Well, I imagine this must have been part of how you took care of yourself over the last year too. You didn't stay at home.
Yeah, I didn't stay at home. And if I stayed home, I was just like, chatting with Seth,
That's
taking a Feldenkrais with Seth. And it was a beautiful discovery. I mean, because I could also be at my place here and just lie down here or just do some things that allows me. And it was beautiful. I haven't looked at this. I didn't need to look at the screen all the time. I could,
great.
yeah, and it was very beautiful how you how you lead it and how you support this experience. And I discover a lot, and I'm really appreciating that you invite me for this conversation, and I'm really thankful. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure. It was
You do a
wonderful
great
to connect
job,
with
Seth.
you in the
You do a
class.
great job. I mean, I really appreciate. I mean, you're good and passionate about it, and I'm really happy about your podcast. And yeah, it's a very cool.
Yeah, well, it's been fun, and this has been terrific conversation today. Maybe I think we're at the end now, but you know, we can come back later and maybe after some time find out what's changed or what's developed further. It would be fun to talk again. Um, so we've mentioned during the conversation the Imagination Space Center and your website and some of these things. Again, we'll put that information below. You're on Instagram. Is there anything else you want to tell people who would like to maybe see your dancing or your choreography or photography? What can people do who want to connect more with you?
Yeah, they can also have a look on my Instagram. I'm active in social media. I have a Facebook and Instagram. I think a lot of people have. So I have this. I have, of course, my internet page that they can contact me through this. Yeah, I think it's there's in my email. So actually, there's a lot of possibility to contact me. Yeah, this I think. I'm yeah, this.
Perfect, perfect. Um, any final words or movements that you want to include before we finish?
Yeah, I think yeah, that final words it can be like that. Yeah, the movement improves your health, and it's also a lot about improving your health and the quality of life, and it can be really beautiful. Yeah, maybe short dance on the final. It's maybe with because we start with dance, so maybe we finish it. Now
Exactly.
I feel so different. Like now it's the conversation is over. At the beginning it was like, oh. So now I immediately go, oh, now I immediately go.
Yeah,
And
no
is it,
hesitation. Yeah, we can see you. Perfect. Yeah, I can see to the top of the door, just so you know. Yep, I see you. No words this time, just the movement.
Great.
I guess everyone who is watching will have to decide what it means.
What it was about.
Exactly. Well, it was a beautiful way to.
I think maybe it's a nice question for leaving a comment below the
Yeah,
below,
love to
below
see what people think.
podcast.
Great idea. Well, thanks so much again, Mateusz, and look forward to connecting again. And yeah, just thanks for
Looking
joining.
forward to see you again as well. Thank you very much for invitation, and yeah, thank you.